live. Now, it may even more touchy because these days you do not hear stories like this on the TV or on the radio, or even read this on the newspapers, because it's no time for individual pains like this to be highlighted. The world is just too busy sorting out the problems in such a bigger scale. They're more concerned about natural disasters, wars, meetings, and all those sorts, okay? The world was a little peaceful. What do you think, Vinicius? This man with this knife in his head.
Well, first of all, when Frankie and Kay told me it's going to be a very light program and landed this knife on somebody's head, I said, hey, that cannot be light. I couldn't see the funny angle of it. I've been scratching my head all week long. Hey, why is Frankie and Kay looking at this macabre kind of situation and saying it is funny? Well, the only thing I could then think of was to look up some medical jokes. You know, unfortunately, I can't say any of these. I cannot repeat any of these medical jokes because I found most of the Google medical jokes are quite indecent. So I won't recount them tonight at all. Now, what Frankie trying to say is that, yeah, you're quite right. I mean, we do not have room for real human interest stories. We came to call it as the bleeding heart stories. You know, I mean, we have more
tear-jerking stories.
Yeah, we have riots and rapes and all sorts of
depressing stories.
Depressing stories. So it's quite true. We should have a little bit. We should train our young journalists.
But is it a way, in a sense, like these heartwarming stories are not newsworthy, or is it not selling that much compared to those stories like wars, meetings?
People like to be shocked these days. It's mainly the result of violent TV shows, instant gratification. They do not have time nowadays to sit down and read a book or whatever. They want everything quick, instant, now. I want satisfaction now, you know. So the newsmen would give this kind of instant, on the spot gratification stories, you know. So they go and chase all this violence.
But I guess a lot of people can relate to this particular gentleman because it's on their own particular point of view. They can relate to themselves. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, as you said just now, I mean, about this knife in the head things, you know, I don't think it's a heartwarming story.
Poor man, 3 years of headache, you know.
So, you know, I mean, of course, it's a story that can sell newspaper, you know. And as you mentioned, but this kind of stories seldom get into the get a space in the media nowadays. And yeah, I mean, in a sense that we are living in a fast lane world now. You know, people's you know, I had a discussion recently that you know, we found that our observation, our younger generation nowadays, they don't read the hard copy newspaper anymore. They just go to the internet to get whatever news from there. I don't know if they want to get news, but that's it. You know, I mean, I think we're lost in this fast lane. You know, but then again, you know, I mean, I believe that this kind of story should be, you know, should be highlighted because the human interest side of it.
But why do you say that?
Well, because I mean, those things indicate there's a problem in the system itself. I mean, like this knife in the head things, why he was not operated earlier. You know, why the doctor said it's quite risky and all these things. With this modern world, we have this new technology and, you know, advancement in the medical. So there must be a problem in that particular country, probably in their health system, in their delivery system.
Well, apparently he was actually operated before that, but he actually wanted to live and he did not want to die. He wanted to continue living on it.
So he's not taking the chance.
Because doctors say he might even die for that matter. But this is not apparently it's not his first operation. Doctors have operated on him right after he got the knife stuck on his head, but because they think it will result in brain damage. So it's better for him to be kept in there for a couple of years. Now, this sounds a bit weird, but what should I say? Unfit to me, doctors knowingly leave a knife in your head for those longer period of time. Can you actually accept that particular statement from the doctors to leave that knife in your head, inside your head for 3 years? Can you imagine having that in your head?
Well, this guy had a knife in his head. The doctors had most probably nothing in their head. Otherwise, they would have done something. So it shows, as Frankie was saying, the medical level of well, there are other considerations, as you say. He was scared. You cannot force him to have an operation. He would be scared, depending on the person, actually. He really did not want to take the risk. If you say, okay, you have a 30% chance of living, 70% chance of, going to heaven, wherever you want to go, you would go. Anybody would be apprehensive of having a second or third operation, whatever, how many, But on the other hand, if the knife on the head was an accident, the doctors left the knife there by
accident,
by mistake.
But he didn't want to have that headache, so he didn't want to take that chance. You think so?
Most probably. Depending on when they discovered the knife. If they had discovered the knife there and then, I believe it was a mistake that the doctor found the knife sometime after when they did a subsequent.
This thing is that he was, I think,
attacked.
And the knife was.
Apparently, reading through the articles, they said he got into a bar fight in 2007 and was attacked by assailants when he returned home. And at that time, doctors only removed the knife handle, fearing that pulling the blade from his head would cause brain damage. So apparently, he was in a fight back in 2007. And
we are not doctors, no? The doctor knows better, why he. He didn't want to take the chance to take out the knife from the head.
So they removed the handle.
Yeah, and just remove the handle. I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor. So there must be a reason for him to do that. Or, but then again,
Frankie's point of view was whether this story could have been developed further as a human interest story, or nowadays they would just leave the story and the knife alone without bothering about the story or the knife. So that means we are losing touch of humanity, of human feeling. So what Frankie is saying, I suppose, is I think what you're trying to get at is that we should develop more, human interest stories, the feelings and. Nowadays, most probably, we would get about 3 lines
of human interest
of that story. I think I'm sure Malay would. He's saying this guy has got a knife in his blank, finish. One paragraph, not even.
That's what I said earlier. It's a very interesting story. It should get the attention of the media. It should be developed because there's a problem there. I'm not sure about the doctor. We should question his decision.
It's more.
There should be second opinion, probably. So there's something wrong there.
There's a medical. There's more to do with the reporter, with the journalist, rather than the doctor. Doctor let them do their own job. I think it is the job of the journalist to develop the story further in a human interest angle. And have a longer story. But we don't have. We go on to the next story. Which
more like a one-liner story.
One-liner story.
For that I agree. That kind of story seldom get into the headline. Seldom get a space. So what we are saying here is that we should put the human interest side take the angle, human interest angle more. Because this is, I mean, it may happen in some countries, you don't know. It may happen in Brunei. But the thing is that, as you said, journalists has the responsibility to highlight, not only the incident of the knife in the head, because of this race taking it out, but then there's more story behind that.
I'm sure we've heard all of different stories apart from this, quite similar stories. Maybe through an operation, they accidentally left in scissors or a knife inside your tummy or the stomach, inside your body. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Oh, I've heard worse. I mean, doctors going into the operating theatre and cutting off the wrong leg, for example.
Ouch. Where did you hear that?
Oh, there's...
Or did you write yourself or you came up with that?
He told me leg shorter.
Yeah.
One leg is short. Yeah.
We've got to see this.
No, really. I mean, they by mistake.
It's not on purpose, yeah.
By mistake.
I think last week, we read in the paper in Malaysia, the lady gave birth, and a week later, she complained of pain, and they found out they left a napkin.
Yeah.
And she died after that.
Poisoning, blood poisoning.
I'm not sure, but then that's what happened. I mean, the husband suing the medical institution, suing the doctor for that.
But then again, we should not blame
and there's
it on
another
the
story. There's another story in Malaysia also. 5-year-old toddler was playing in this collapsible bed, and he was trapped, and he was screaming. The parents thought that he was just joking. Yeah. But then I think after a while, when they saw the girls, the boy, already black and blue, and he died.
Okay. You're watching Review. We'll have more of these kind of discussions in just a bit. Why these heartwarming stories, these lighter stories, never made it into the papers. We'll be right back. This is Review.
Okay.
Back with us on Review, and my name is Frankie. We have Malai Hassan as well as Initius in the studio telling us more about this particular lighter story. We were talking about how this gentleman in Brazil had the knife in the head. The doctors removed the handle but left the knife inside his head for 3 consecutive years. I must say, it's going to be a real headache for him, but he just wanted to take the risk. Right? So we were talking why certain things like this don't make it to the news because maybe it's not newsworthy, not selling enough. We'll try to elaborate, summarize what we just discussed.
It goes along sensationalism. We newsmen are to be blamed because we go for sensational stories. Because our readers want to read sensational stories. As I said before, they want instant gratification. So naturally, stories like this never get, never get printed, never sees the light of day. So when we try to give sensationalism to the people, then they blame us. Oh, you're being sensationalized. Sensationalized. We sensationalize.
They are guilty also.
Because you want it. They're
also guilty.
You want it. That's why we produce it.
But personally for you, Initius, do you personally like to write those kind of stories rather than read them?
Well, yeah. I like to sort of excite the people. Yeah, what sort of stories do you mean? The one with the knife in the head?
That's right.
Yeah, I would like to. Especially
with the human interest and personal touch.
I used to do a lot of it long time ago when I was in the Singapore paper, in the Straits Times. I used to do a lot of human interest stories, and I love doing that.
But why stop now?
Nobody wants to buy my stories.
You think the world is changing because no one's interested to read these kind of stories anymore?
Only the world. I think you yourself is changing. Human interest stories is you must really spend a lot of time to get under the skin of the other guy. You must feel what he feels, and it's like a fiction. It's more or less, So you must convey the feeling. That's not easy to the readers. So the readers feel pity, or the readers feel moved. That takes a bit of time. Yeah, but you must really like doing that. Otherwise, you just do a straightforward story, knife on the head, blah, So you can go, you have to sit down and talk to him. This guy with a knife in the head, you sit down and talk to him. Once you talk to him, you discover a lot of things about him. About his love life, for example, about his wife maybe, about his children, and all that, personal thing flood into the story, and you make it into a real good story. But how many journalists have got time to do that? Not many journalists.
They're more focused on the bigger stories, bigger picture.
Big story.
But do you realize that they tend to have this kind of stories from the third world country, not the developed countries, right?
Well,
is it true?
No, I think we have stories, in the third world stories, there are more horrendous stories,
That's a big
which are because of the circumstances of their life, but many of them are left untold because the people take it as commonplace, Whereas in a developed place, you get focus because the general standard of living, there is law and order, there's a general standard of living. So if something like this happens, little bit happens, we tend to take notice. But in third world countries, suffering is rife, is every day, it's every day happening. So this kind of stories won't come up. So you can't generalize actually. Yeah.
So Malai, what do you think?
Well, I mean, story from Borneo always interests the Western media.
In what Borneo news are we talking
Because
about?
in the imagination, we still have headhunters here. We still live in the jungle.
Until this very day, they still...
Oh yes, there are some of these people. They still use this. When they mention Borneo, they will
The first thing that came to mind?
tie it up to these
Headhunters.
People living in the jungle.
We are living in trees.
Yeah, living in trees.
Swinging from one tree to another.
So it's the prejudice of the media. So I mean, as Ignatius said, not necessarily this story come out from these third world countries. Depends on the media practitioner, how they feature the country. Probably they like to highlight those weird stories or horrendous stories, from this because to get attention. But I mean, just sharing you my experience. When I was in the bulletin at that time as a journalist, as a reporter, I like to angle my story on the human interest, even as accident. I mean, one case long time ago, this soldier guy, he died he lost his wife in a road accident. So I mean, I can simply say there was an accident happened. A lady died
because of the accident.
Because of the accident. She was pregnant. She was pregnant. So I imagine, how the husband feels, losing a wife and a baby.
So you put it from a different point of view, is it?
Yeah, I went to the husband. I talked to him, and he showed me, the wife was ready for the baby, buy the clothes, everything. And the lady never told the husband about it. He was surprised that the wife was pregnant. I mean, that story touched us a lot. And I think in a way it makes us realize to drive safely.
Yeah, this was Malai is right. The incident can only be highlighted if a reporter happens to be around, and not only a reporter, but if a reporter with some imagination captures the story, incident, and make it into a story. It's all a matter of accident.
By chance.
By chance, a reporter happened to be there. Yeah.
There's another story. I think you remember. I wrote about it. I mean, it happened in this in town, this policeman, he was accidentally shot. I think they were changing shift, and I think the gun dropped and hit him, and he died. I mean, it's a simple, straightforward story. It's an accident, but I talked to the wife, and the wife told me about her pre-nomination, that night. Yeah, so she dreamt about that
before the action.
Before that action, So this thing quite interesting to write because just a one-liner or straightforward story. So it's interesting. I mean, it's quite important also to emphasize on the human interest side of it. I mean, for example, like there's a function, launching of something, or the minister delivering a speech. You can just write what he said, but end of the day, we as the end users will be affected by the policy or whatever the statement made by our ministers or senior officers. So it's interesting to look at the other angle, to look at what impact it will do to our life. So this thing will make people read the paper, make them think about it, and also we can contribute to a lot of things, to the development in general.
Now imagine that knife in the head incident actually happened in our country. How would we react to it for cultural differences? How we publicize it, for that matter?
It all depends on, again, who the reporter is, what level of journalism we have attained. If we have competent reporters, there's one big problem we have now. We haven't trained enough people to look at stories. Reporters don't nowadays take journalism as a occupation, as a profession. For them, many of the young people, is just a stopgap. They come and work in the newspaper or radio for a short while, waiting for another job to spring up, and they get a few more dollars, and they sell their soul for a few dollars. But unless we have dedicated people, Malay was a very dedicated journalist who really did a lot of stuff, outstanding, in fact, among the local people. He did a lot of stories. I mean, he was really interested in the job. In that time, I mean, even if somebody asked or offer him a few more dollars, he won't go, because he is committed to it. He is so addicted to that reporting. You're into it. So unless we have people like that, and people who are willing to dedicate their life to it, then maybe we can have stories like this coming up. Otherwise, the stories will die before they are born. They die a premature death. We'll never see the light of day.
I must add to that. I mean, what is important is for us, the newsmen or the journalists, to understand that we serve the people. We write about them, about their well-being, about life. That will be very interesting.
Journalism itself is a very humane occupation. We always side the underdog, the weaker side. We want to help the weaker side.
But just imagine the situation. Put this as a scenario. If it happens to you, actually you that had that knife in the head, would you want to be covered in the media? Or be interviewed, for that matter?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, at least someone out there can give me the solution to take out the knife from the head, because my doctor refused to do so because it's too risky. It may cost my life. But somebody out there may read my story and come with a solution, or can offer.
Yeah, but there are many types of people in this world. Some people just shoo you off. Said, I want my privacy. I don't want my story to be interviewed. However you talk to him, he will listen to you. I said, this is good. No, it's no good. We often come across people like that. So